Welcome back. Los Angeles County is, with over 5 million voters, the largest voting jurisdiction in the country by far and represents 1 out of every 4 votes cast in the state of California. And this election, the county actually started in 2018 when it changed the design of the mail-in ballot coming to your home. But now it has officially replaced the ink blot ballot at the voting station called Ink-A-Vote, which dates back to the 1960s. We have a new, different system. It's called Voting Solutions for All People, and it employs an iPad. The man behind all of this is Dean Logan, the LA County Registrar of Voters. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good to be here.
So congratulations, new system.
Thank you.
Very exciting.
It is very exciting.
Some concerns. Talk us through it. Sure.
And of course, anytime there's something this significantly new in an election that has so much attention, there are going to be people who are nervous about it. But the reality is that, as you mentioned, the voting system we've used in LA County has been the same since 1968 when Robert Kennedy was on the ballot. And it was hard to get parts for that system. It wasn't particularly user-friendly particularly for voters who are seniors, voters with disabilities, voters with language needs. So we spent the better part of the last decade doing a lot of research, a lot of human-centered design, working within our community and the stakeholders to develop this new, what we call the new voter experience, which is, it does definitely involve the new voting devices, but it also changes the whole model of voting, where instead of voting on a single Tuesday between 7 a.m. and 8 p.m., now we'll have an 11-day voting period where people can vote anywhere in the county, close to work, close to home, close to where their kids go to school. The idea of meeting people where they're at. So when they're ready to cast their vote during that 11-day voting period, that we'll have a place somewhere in their path of travel where they can stop and cast that ballot.
Talk us through the new machine. We don't want to call it a machine. It's a device.
Yeah, so it's a ballot marking device, and it is, as you described it, it's like a large iPad with a printer attached to it. It still produces a paper ballot. So when you go into the vote center, they'll check you in. You'll take that blank paper ballot to the device, insert it into the device. It'll walk you through on the touch screen, making your selections. There's some great features involved in that, so it avoids problems that we've had in the past, so you can't overvote on that. At the end of it, it tells you if you've missed a contest or if you have selections remaining. You can also select what language you want to see. You can use audio functionality, a lot of features for voters to customize. But at the end of that, the voter reviews those choices on the screen, prints out the ballot, then they can look at the physical ballot, check that out as well, and when they're satisfied that that's how they intended to vote, they put that back in the device and it goes into a secure ballot box on the back. The device doesn't count your vote. It doesn't retain any of that data. The ballots come back to our office in Norwalk and are counted centrally on a separately certified tally system.
There have been some concern of paper jams once you take the ballot and you stick it back into the machine.
Yeah, in our early testing of the devices, there were issues with paper jams. We did some enhancement after we had the mock election. Great opportunity to kind of find those kinks early in the process before we go live in a major election. So we did upgrade the firmware. We made some modifications to the hardware. Those have been tested, and we feel confident that they're going to work well.
Beverly Hills filed a lawsuit saying, listen, you can't get all the candidates on one page of the iPad, so you have to hit next. But if you hit more, then it may skip that race. They filed a suit to stop it.
Yeah, it's actually the opposite, and right now that lawsuit seems to be in abeyance. That is a function of the usability of the device. So California voting system standards require minimum font size, and they require that you can't scroll like you would on a regular phone or iPad because you might inadvertently hit and make a selection you didn't want to make. So what the device does is as it moves to the next candidate, there's a more button, and there's a flashing yellow button. It's a very distinct button, and you continue to hit more until you see all your choices. Now, we've tested that. We know from a live election in November as well as in our mock election that people navigate that very well, but we also know it's new. So part of the conditions of using this system is that we will orient voters to that. When they come into the vote center, we'll hand them information that talks about that feature, and we'll also mention that to them during the check-in process.
Now, the Secretary of State had found some vulnerabilities. There's concerns about the security of this. Has it been certified?
It is absolutely certified, and there are conditions. There are things that we have to do. We have to document, and we have to demonstrate, and we have backup systems. I mean, it's a complicated process running elections in a jurisdiction this size, but we have tested this thoroughly. We've run it through user testing and mock elections, and we feel confident that it's going to serve the voters well, but it's also going to serve the process well.
Right, because people see what happened in Iowa, and that's a completely different animal, run by the Democratic Party in Iowa, and it's a caucus, so they're very different. But they start thinking in terms of the integrity of the ballot.
Right. I think one of the big advantages of this new model is that voting is going to start 10 days before the election. So we're going to see what's happening out there in the field, where in the past, if something happened on Election Day, our window of opportunity to try and address those issues was just on that day. We're going to have those 10 full days before the election where if we see that there are issues or there are problems that need to be worked out, processes that need to be refined, we're going to have the opportunity to deal with those prior to Election Day, when we'll probably see the majority of our votes.
There's been criticism that the vote count takes too long in LA County, and that you're taking in votes that may not be counted for weeks, certainly not certified. Does this new system help with that?
In some ways, yes. What's different, I think, with this new system, what you'll see is those early results that we release on election night and into the late hours of election night are going to be a more substantial portion of the overall election tally. Now, if it's a close contest, we're still going to go through that full 28-day post-election voting period, because we want to make sure that every valid vote is counted. What
is your biggest worry?
You know, I think I would say two things. One is that this is such significant change. It's getting the word out. It's orienting people to it. We're a large community. People are creatures of habit, and we need them to know that this is a new process. We need them to take advantage of that 10-day voting period so not everybody shows up on Election Day. And then the rest of it is really about logistics. It's just about getting all of the equipment out to these facilities, having the staff out there and ready to serve the voters when they show up.
A Registrar-Recorder for the County of Los Angeles, larger than all but 8 states. Thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate it.